Welcome to the family. This is Three Docs in the Mic, and I'm Dr. Riaja Johnson.
Hey, I'm Dr. Sophronia Johnson.
Dr. Kamoya Johnson.
So we're three sisters, and all of us have a doctorate. So this podcast is really about what made us us. So the journey that we took on our lives to bring us to the point right now. So we hope it's inspiration to you. We hope that you get some nuggets that'll help you along your journey as well. So welcome to our family. So on this journey, I know we have different journeys, but since we're sisters, we sort of started in the same spot, right? And we're from the Bay Area, California. But what in your formative years helped to prepare you for your journey into your doctorate?
I decided in the fourth grade, actually, I had a wonderful teacher, Miss Thornton. I actually ran into her in my older age, and she remembers me.
Okay.
And having this teacher, so I had her in fourth grade, and then she was in sixth grade too. So I had her again in sixth grade. And she was just absolutely fabulous in just the way that she really looked at each person. I felt seen and heard in her class, and having her instantly, I said, I want to be a teacher. And she also was a Black lady who spoke Spanish, right? And I didn't meet a lot of Black people who spoke Spanish, although I know that there's, a lot of people out there. But in my little world, it wasn't something that I encountered a lot. And so I was just in awe of her. And she was teaching us Spanish as well. And we performed, different performances throughout the year. And so having her, I think, really planted seeds in me where I knew that I wanted to go in education. Mm-hmm. And on my educational journey, and just working in different aspects of education. So I was a substitute for 7 years, deciding, do I really want to go and get my teaching degree? And I was still thinking about it. I ran an after-school program at the same time, so simultaneously. And being a substitute, I got to see different cultures of classrooms as well as schools. Mm-hmm. And it was pre-K through 12th grade when I was substituting. And having that experience, I realized that having one particular set of young people that I'm encountering wasn't for me. And also young people were coming to me and just telling me things, right? And so I actually went into supporting teachers. Okay. And supporting young people and teachers to have positive relationships. And what does that look like? So planting seeds there, which I felt was more my speed. Okay. And how I got into psychology, I actually originally started off as a CPA. Mm-hmm. And I took one psychology class, and I'm blanking on a psychology teacher, but it was a Black male at Laney Community College, and I fell in love. Right. And so all of my degrees actually are in psychology. And then using and gaining those skills and using those skills when in service of others has just been, eye-opening for me. And actually staying in education and psychology and learning that I can actually weave my two loves together, right? Hands down.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, awesome. Good job. So you sort of found your niche.
I found my niche.
Gotta
yes.
stick with your
yes.
niche. Stick with the niche. Okay.
And although we're both in psychology, my path has been so different. So I'm going to talk about several things because psychology wasn't my focus. Going into my junior year of high school, I was in a young entrepreneur program at UC Berkeley. And I thought that I was going to be a business mogul. Like that was my thing, that I thought that was the path that I was on. And so I went to UC Berkeley undergrad, and my degree was in economics. And after that, I went on to get an MBA because I was really of the mindset, business. And so just along the way, I realized how much I love school. And school has been the thing for me.
Professional student.
Yes, I have been a professional student. And it's funny because if you add up like the years from kindergarten all the way through the end of my doctorate, I've been in school more than I've been out of school. in my life, which is very interesting because I love to learn. I don't necessarily need the degrees, but as Dr. Kamoya stated, why not get the degree if you're doing the work, you know? So along the way, I realized that psychology is part of everything you do in life, whether or not you know it. So even in the business world, selling and marketing, what is that? That is psychology,
Right.
you know, at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it seems like I took a hard left, even though it seems like I took a hard left, you know, going from, oh, I'm going to be this, you know, great entrepreneur to, oh, now I have a doctorate in psychology, to mesh together very nicely. Not to mention still doing the business thing, you know, and we'll talk about that at some point with our business, you know, so combining the background that I have in business with now this background in psychology, the two work very well together. So in my formative years, I think that young entrepreneur program that I went through, and might I add, I think I had a pretty successful business. I was selling cookies, and people like my cookies. So yes.
Congratulations on the cookies.
Riaja's Baker's Dozen. So yeah.
Love it. Love it.
And what age was this?
I was 16 when I started my first business.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, so that I think that for me really brought me here, even though it was kind of in an indirect way. And my only degree in psychology is my PsyD.
Right.
So prior to that, it's all kind of business focused.
Right. Right. That's interesting. So it really doesn't matter what angle you go to, and it's all the things that we go through in life make us who we are. So it sort of builds who you are anyway. So you're still going to use all of those things, those transferable skills that you have. So that's pretty cool.
And everything's interconnected.
True.
We're all interconnected.
We are.
All concepts are interconnected. Just finding where those things fit in our lives and what we want to do, what our purpose is really the goal.
What in your formative years, Dr. Sophronia, have gotten you to where you are today?
Yeah, I think more competition than anything else. So being competitive. Coming from a fairly large family, and I'm on the topper half of the family. So I had 4 brothers that were above me, and I just had to be better than them, really. So that's what it is. Okay, so, but the thing is also in school, because I have a learning disorder, and the learning disorder was discovered when I was younger, and I really didn't have anyone really to help me through that. And then what the school provided, I wasn't happy, or was I pleased with them separating me out. A decision that I was not going to go for the extra help. Probably not the best one, but you know, you in 3rd, 4th grade, you don't care anyway. You just don't want to go to see little lady, right? So, so I had to learn how to deal with myself in that aspect. The great thing is that when I got to junior high school, I had an instructor, Deidre Johnson. She was like, you know, that's my auntie, right? So she just took me aside and she said, you learn differently. She said, and the way that you learn is that you have to talk it through, because your mind is not processing it the same way everybody else is processing. So she helped me through, and interesting enough, she was an English teacher, and that was not my favorite subject because it did take me longer to read and everything like that. But the math and the sciences were so much easier. So I had her in 7th grade, 8th grade, and then she went to the high school with me as well. So that was pretty cool that she was with me there. And she sort of helped me navigate this learning. It's not really a disability. So I just learned differently. And that's what I had to understand, that I just learned differently than anybody else. So she helped me navigate that aspect of it. And then I came in contact with Janice Hunter, who was a chemistry instructor at Berkeley High School. And I never had her for an instructor because she was, by the time I got to Berkeley High, she had already went into the assistant principal position at Berkeley High. So, but I just always admired her, and she was a Black woman in chemistry. And I was like, man, I can do chemistry. So I did that. So my undergraduate was in both biology and chemistry because, of course, I was going to go to med school and become the team doctor for the Lakers. So we did that. So I went to saw Janice Hunter, went to HBCU, which was Johnson C. Smith University, the Johnson C. Smith University, Charlotte, North Carolina, go Bulls. All right, so we went to the HBCU, and then I discovered generations of education. So my grandmother, who I'm named after, Sophronia Valerie, only went to the 3rd grade. So when I got to Johnson C. Smith and people were saying, oh, my grandfather graduated from here, my great-granddaddy graduated from here, I'm fascinated because I'm like, whoa, I didn't get that exposure. So that really helped me because now I saw people whose family were educated and like that. So I had to finish it because that's what I started, right? We were taught, you start something, you finish it. So got there, got the inspiration, had a lot of positive Black females in science and in education, really helped shape who I am. When I finished Johnson C. Smith University, after doing several research assignments and things like that around the world, I got a fellowship to get a PhD in chemistry, so it was paid for completely. So doing that and finishing out, and it took me a while to finish out my PhD because I was still in the learning mode, so I was learning how the universities operated, learning how they worked. So I did fellowships on the Preparing Future Faculty fellowships, and I taught as an adjunct instructor while I was in graduate school. So because I came with my own money, I didn't have to be a TA. So when I finished my 18 hours of graduate in chemistry, I was hired to teach. And so I was an actual instructor teaching that those undergrads there. And I really realized that, okay, I really don't want to do the research side of the PhD. I want to be on the educational side where I can help shape and form these young minds to go forward. So I finished that out and then went into teaching. I did teach high school for a minute. That wasn't my cup of tea. I did substitute for a minute. Unfortunately, I got 2nd graders that told me I ain't know nothing. So I took their advice, right? And I did not know 2nd grade. So I said, obviously, I'm supposed to be a college instructor. So let me go back to the collegiate level where at least I think I'm smart enough to teach these college level students and to really do that. But I appreciate all of the experiences that I had getting to that point because it helped to shape me. What I learned from the kindergartners and the 2nd graders was that you can never anticipate or expect them to know. So I had to really understand that they didn't know or they didn't understand what I was saying, and I had to understand how they learned in order to get it to them the way they did. What I learned on the collegiate level is the exact same thing. Everybody really is like teaching kindergartners. So if you take that aspect into the classroom, then you're always not anticipating what they know, but giving them exactly what they need in order to progress. So that's where I am now. And now I'm more training professors now, training educators to be educators and to really engage and change this whole dynamic of higher education, because right now it's not working to our advantage, these classrooms. So it's been a journey, but it's a good journey.
With me, just in hearing all of us, is just having those people in our lives that actually can model what we want to be or expand our thinking around what is possible.
Right.
And just how important that is to show up. And that's one of my motivators, as I mentioned before, just modeling and showing up and showing young people and their families what is possible, right? You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to think a certain way. You actually don't even have to achieve, at certain levels. It's really just really moving through life and gaining as much knowledge as possible as you move through life, and also realizing that there's a village out there, right? You just have to find who your people are.
Right.
And it seems like we kind of found our people just, just moving through life and our experiences and everything that it has to offer. And that's one of the things that I love, and I continue to remind even adults of, right? So those babies who don't mind telling you, right, what's on their mind, and even you realizing that those kindergartners and those 18-year-olds and those 25-year-olds and those 40-year-olds all think alike, right? And so really just looking at their humanity and who's the person before me, but behaviors are the same. It just looks different depending on your age and your experience.
Absolutely.
And so really tapping in and acknowledging I have an individual in front of me, and how can I relate to this individual, right? How do I need to shift myself so that I can holistically see this individual in front of me? And then also being that person that shows up for others, whether you know it or not, right? Because we're all in a relationship, whether it's intentional or not.
Right.
And we impact people in so many different ways. And sometimes we don't even know the impact we have on people's lives. And that can be positive or negative,
Correct.
Because sometimes we can do or say things. We may be having a bad day and we don't even realize that we have touched a person in a certain way, whether it's positive or negative, again. So how we show up in the world is very important, because we're leaving an imprint on someone's life, because we all talked about, even though I didn't say a specific name, there have been so many people along the way that have helped me to get to where I am today, and sometimes it's a negative comment that tells me, oh, I'm going to prove you wrong, if it's nothing less than that, but there has been more supportive people in my life that far outweigh the negative. To honestly, I don't remember most of the negative stuff because I didn't let it stick with me. I didn't receive that.
Right, and that's the thing that I always say: we have cheerleaders, we have inspiration, we have mentors, and then we have motivators. And as long as you use those people that are discounting you as motivation and not really focusing on that, but it's motivating you to go to do something else, then it's all good. You need them. It makes you who you are. It makes you a well-rounded person. So that's good. And another thing I wanted to mention was that most people that I see as being a model in an aspect of their life, or as a mentor in an aspect of their life, or an aspect of my life, they don't even know that I'm modeling or seeking things from them. So it's all those unsung heroes that's just like, man, that's what I see. Or I see that leadership skill in them, and that's what I'm going to strive to be. Or that's who I'm going to show up as, because they make things go. They're movers, they're shakers, they make things happen. So that's always a positive thing. So you don't have to always tell somebody, and that's one thing I think a lot of young people is that when we tell them to find a mentor or to have a mentor relationship with someone, they think they actually have to go and physically say, oh my God, I want you to be my mentor. Where it's like, no, I just need you to form a relationship where you can learn from someone else and really foster that relationship that's there. And people are people. You never want to put anybody up on a pedestal, because that person that you may think was all great, you're going to find something else. Pop used to tell us, you eat the meat, spit out the bones. So you eat those things that are good for you, and everything else in that person's life, let it go. But that helps shape us. So.
And that can be easier said than done for most, depending on their life experience, right? So again, just looking at the holistic person and really being with that person in an authentic way, and not having our stuff actually enter into their stuff, but just being with them. What does that relationship look like? And we have the power to mold those relationships. And just understanding what is actually within our power and letting go of the stuff that's not, to a certain extent, because those things also help mold us, right? So it's kind of like having that shift and balance in life, and always having those dual realities enter into all relationships and every decision that we make. Thank you for being with us. We're sending you love, light, and positive energy. And remember to proceed in power.